Welcome to today's edition of the Into Texas AI podcast. It's your look at AI news and trends impacting Texas. I'm your host, Shannon Ballou. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about something that many Texans have probably driven past without giving it a second thought. It's a small camera on a pole. Maybe it's near an intersection or at the entrance to a neighborhood. For years, we've thought about cameras as recording devices. They've captured footage, and then someone would go back later, rewind the tape, or, well, more likely, scroll through digital video and try to figure out what happened. AI cameras are different. They don't just record the world, they help interpret it. And that's opening up lots of opportunities. AI cameras sit at the center of several fast growing markets, including computer vision, video analytics, public safety technology, retail analytics, and industrial automation. There's also smart infrastructure and, of course, physical security. One market estimate puts the global AI camera market at just over $13 billion in 2026. So we're not just talking about surveillance, it's also about the next phase of AI moving into the physical world and the opportunities that that brings. Now, there was a recent Texas headline that caught our attention, and it came from the Fort Worth Star Telegram, which reported that AI cameras are currently tracking cars across DFW, specifically automated license plate readers known as flock cameras. At least 648 of those cameras have been mapped in Tarrant County alone by DFlock, which is an open source project that tracks these camera locations. Now, this is not a pilot program. This is actually already part of our physical landscape across North Texas. So today, we're going to look at what actually makes a camera an AI camera, why this market is growing so quickly, and which Texas companies are seeing success through the lens of AI cameras. What makes an AI camera different? Well, let's start with that basic question. What does make an AI camera different from a typical camera? Well, a traditional camera, as we know, captures images or video. It certainly could also have motion detection along with it, and it may even send an alert when something moves in front of it. But the camera itself does not really understand what it's seeing. An AI camera or a camera connected to an AI analytics platform does something more. It can identify patterns in the image. It can recognize a vehicle and read a license plate. It has that ability to even classify a person, an animal, a package, a weapon, or certain kinds of movements. And as for the people part, facial recognition is something that's a little bit separate, and we will get some response to that piece in just a little bit. But right now, just understand that in some systems, it can search video using plain language. So instead of, watching hours of footage, a user might just simply ask, help me identify a red truck that entered the parking lot after 9 p.m. Or look for a person carrying a backpack near the west entrance of our main campus. The value of the AI camera is not just the image that's captured, it's the actual data extracted from the image. And that's what allows that voice interaction, plain language interaction to reduce the time that it takes to find images from a regular camera to just seconds coming back from an AI camera. And the camera is not just a passive witness anymore. It now is becoming a sensor feeding an intelligence layer. Sometimes the AI is built directly into the camera, and sometimes the camera simply captures the video, and then the intelligence happens in the cloud or an edge device nearby. Either way, the result is similar. Video becomes searchable, classifiable, and actionable. The business behind AI cameras. So, before we go too far into the public safety side of the story, it is worth stepping back and looking at the business side because AI cameras are not a niche security product anymore, but are rather part of a much larger market shift. As mentioned, the AI camera market this year is estimated to be around $13 billion, but it's also projected to reach more than $29 billion by 2031. That is not just because cities and police departments are buying more cameras, it's because cameras are becoming intelligent business infrastructure. And the broader video analytics market tells a similar story. That market is projected to grow from nearly $15 billion in 2026 to more than $65 billion by 2034. Now, you could say that video analytics is where much of the value actually sits and that the camera simply captures the image. It's the analytics that turn that image into business intelligence. And it's everything from, again, detecting a vehicle and reading a license plate to recognized a blocked loading dock or helping a company search through hours of footage in seconds instead of assigning that manual task to someone like we gave in the example just a bit ago. So, when we talk about AI cameras, we're really talking about a larger business question. What happens when video becomes searchable, measurable, and operational? For businesses, this technology is attractive because it can serve multiple functions at once. A camera that was originally installed for security can also support operations, safety, compliance, customer experience, logistics, and even risk management. And that's a very different type of return on investment conversation than just traditional surveillance. Now, a traditional security camera was often treated as an insurance policy, right? You hoped you would not need it, but if something happened, you had footage. An AI enabled camera can become more like an active business tool. In a warehouse, it may help identify bottlenecks, or let's take a manufacturing plant as an example. It could help with quality inspection work. Examples we've seen with other products we've talked about on this show before, a construction site, right? It might help monitor safety conditions. In a retail setting, it could even help analyze customer flow so that you make better business decisions about your layouts. But you get the idea. And this is why the market is growing. There's so many opportunities there. It's not simply that organizations want more cameras, it's that they want more usable information from the cameras they already have. That's also why companies in the space are increasingly selling software, analytics, cloud services, and subscriptions, and not just the hardware. Now, Flock Safety is a good example of that. It's headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. And this was the company that we referenced that has cameras set up across DFW. So Flock is not just selling the camera on the pole, right? It is selling that public safety platform, and their products do include cameras and other devices, including drones. And additionally, they sell different types of software to pair with the hardware. Now, the company announced a $275 million funding round last year, and it was 2025, which brought its valuation to $7.5 billion. Outside estimates have placed its annual recurring revenue around $300 million. Again, that's from 2025. Investors are not valuing these companies like old school camera companies, obviously, but rather as software and data infrastructure companies. And the camera is the visible part, as we've talked about, but the real business is the intelligence layer behind it. So let's bring this back to the recent Texas headline. The Fort Worth Star Telegram story focused on those flock cameras across DFW. These are the automated license plate readers, often called ALPRs. And in the case of license plate readers, the camera captures a vehicle image. The computer vision reads the plate, and then the system may also identify the vehicle's make, its model, color, and any other visible characteristics. Now, that information can then be compared against watch list or searched later as part of an investigation. Flock Safety says its license plate reader cameras do not use facial recognition and that searches are based only on vehicle characteristics rather than identity. It also says that its license plate reader data is deleted on a rolling schedule with 30 days as the default retention period unless a customer's contract or local law sets a different window. Now, that is the company's framing that targeted public safety investigations, not general people tracking, is where they focus. And the public safety case is pretty easy to understand. Police departments want and need tools that help them recover stolen vehicles, find wanted suspects in different types of crimes, and even help locate missing people, missing children. And they also help build timelines after a crime occurs. So some Texas communities using these systems describe them as investigative tools rather than traffic enforcement tools. Bexar County, Texas, for example, says its flock data is used for law enforcement purposes, that the data is owned by the sheriff's office, and that the system does not detect facial recognition, people, gender, or race. And even if a system does not identify a face, it can still create a detailed record of where vehicles have been, when they passed a location, and how those movements connect across a region. If you can search vehicle movement at scale, you are not just improving camera footage, you are building a searchable layer over everyday life. Now, that does not automatically make the technology bad. It does make governance essential. And we talk about this all the time, right? So the technology is used for good purposes that help us as individuals, as a community, but it does need to come with those guardrails that we always talk about, with that human oversight. So the privacy and trust questions. This is where the debate begins. Supporters see AI cameras and license plate readers as those practical public safety tools that we mentioned. Critics, on the other hand, privacy advocates, they see the early stages of a mass surveillance network. And of course, we've seen this referenced in Hollywood movies many times, right? It's that movie version coming to real life is what we're seeing right now with these cameras. Both sides are reacting to the same capabilities. Cameras that no longer just capture footage, but turn that physical world into searchable data. And this is where the public does deserve clear answers. I mean, this is, again, very similar to other conversations we've had around physical AI, especially when it is used in public spaces. So the questions to ask are pretty much the same. Who can search the data? How long is it kept? In this case, since law enforcement is using it, it's probably also worth asking if it could be shared with other agencies, or if it is shared with other agencies, or is there a specific or active case number required in order for someone to search through the data? And what happens if the AI piece gets something wrong? AI cameras do make mistakes. For example, license plate readers can misread characters. The letter B could look like an 8, and a temporary tag could be hard to interpret. So, when these systems are used in public safety, a mistake can quickly turn into a police stop, or it can turn a person being treated as a suspect very quickly. It can have a very real consequence from a seemingly small technical error. And that is part of AI adoption that businesses and governments sometimes underestimate, or we don't look at it and really think about it until after something's happened that causes us to question the technology and how we're using it. What happens when the AI model becomes part of a decision process, and especially something like this, where we're talking about police activity and monitoring? That's why the trust questions matter so much. And this is why I do believe that AI cameras belong in the larger conversation about physical AI, where artificial intelligence connects to machines, sensors, cameras, robots, vehicles, drones, security infrastructure. It is AI that sees, listens, and moves and responds, or even triggers action in the real world. So the phrase AI camera is maybe too narrow. In many cases, the intelligence isn't even inside the camera itself, as we've mentioned. The camera is the eye, the AI platform is the brain. The cloud, the edge device, the database, the alert system, they all have to work together. So, for a business, the appeal is obvious. Video used to be something you checked after the fact. AI turns video into something closer to a real time operating layer. Instead of asking what happened yesterday, the system can say something is happening now and trigger response. That real time view of the world is pretty powerful, but it also changes the responsibility of the organizations using it. So, Texas based AI camera and security companies. Now, let's get back to the business opportunity and what's happening in Texas. Are there AI camera companies based in the state? Yes, absolutely. Possibly one of the more widely known Texas based AI camera companies is Eagle Eye Networks based in Austin. The company provides cloud video surveillance and video management systems with artificial intelligence and analytics. Eagle Eye has positioned itself around taking security cameras from passive recording devices into more proactive security and business intelligence tools. In 2025, Eagle Eye announced AI camera gun detection designed to work with existing cameras, including early installations at Texas schools, a church, and an Austin business. Now, another Austin based company to know is Athena Security. Athena focuses on AI enabled physical security, especially weapons detection, visitor management, AI assisted x ray, and entryway screening for hospitals, schools, even corporate campuses and public venues. Its systems are not just, quote, camera on a wall products. They are part of a broader AI security workflow designed to detect threats and help security staff respond more quickly. Now, the Texas AI camera market is about companies building the intelligence layer around cameras and physical security systems. And, honestly, that may be where companies in Texas have a bit of an advantage. Across the state, as we know, we have a broader AI ecosystem in place, including a strong investment community and so many prospective partnering opportunities to help complete the full AI intelligence system that make AI cameras so powerful. Okay. As we close out today's episode, let's go back to that small camera on a pole. For most of us, it is easy to drive past it and barely notice it. Cameras just used to be passive witnesses, but AI is turning them into active business infrastructure, delivering real time intelligence about the physical world. There's significant opportunity here, and the organizations behind this technology, the ones that get it right, will understand the business use case, the need, right? The operational value, the data implications, and the human impact. They will ask better questions before deployment, and they will be a critical part of the conversation around public education, safety, trust, and transparency. That's it for this episode of Into Texas AI podcast. We'll keep following how artificial intelligence is showing up across Texas, not just in software, but in the systems, infrastructure, businesses, and public spaces that shape our daily lives. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you sharing, listening again, and please subscribe. As always, have a great week, and we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Shannon Ballou. Thanks for listening.